Hey, welcome to this Money Monday edition of Liquid Lunch on Biz TV. I'm John Tobacco. We're coming to you live as we do every single day, kicking off the week from the Corona Bunker Studios right here in Staten Island, New York. And on a Money Monday, there is a lot to talk about related to your money. Markets are doing well, did not break down below that 26,000 number last week, so there's some good things happening. News out of Washington that the Republicans have come out with their stimulus plan, about $1 trillion. Does not have the payroll tax cut in there, which I thought would really rocket the market. Said that there weren't enough people. 3 Republicans weren't even on board with it. So rather than waste a lot of time, the president wants to get the money into the hands of the people. So the payroll tax is on hold. I think he will use some stroke of his executive privilege to enact some kind of beautiful payroll relief for small businesses. Small business owners can start hiring again, all that good stuff. So the market's doing okay. We'll stay tuned on that. Bitcoin, I've been following it on the show for the last 2 years. I've been involved in it since 2014. Told you below 9,000 we may have a problem. And if it broke through that 9,500 level last week that it kept like tingering around, right through that point, I thought it goes back to 10.3, through 10,300, way higher. And you know, every day at the end of the show, the team corrects all my mistakes. So when I'm wrong, I'm willing to take it on the chin. But when I'm right, I want to remind you of all the things that we talk about on this show that could be helpful to you. So let's just take a look at what I said on Friday about Bitcoin. Some havoc out there that you got to keep your eye on. Bitcoin holding steady at 9,500. So I like Bitcoin here. And I think it is, I'm going to say it again, I think it is primed right now for a nice pop into the 10,000. That was Friday. I said I thought it was primed here to bust up, and anything through that 10,300 number, even way higher than that. So just to give you a little update as we come into this Money Monday edition, take a look at the chart, talked to you at 9,500, said it could bust through 10. As we come into this hour here today, Bitcoin at 10,347, and a little steadiness at this 10.3 number. At a little more volatility in the U.S. capital markets, I'm telling you, you could be looking at Bitcoin at 15,000 before the end of the summer. So there's a big catapult ready to happen, and we've been on top of it. And when I'm wrong, I tell you I'm wrong. But on this one, right now, things are looking good. Hope you're keeping your eye on Overstock.com. That's another one that's been on a rocket shot. I'm going to talk to you about that a little later in the show. But for your Money Monday, we have our regular money guest. Fernando Uribe will join us in just a few minutes. We'll kick off the first hour here. Fernando is the host of Politically Direct on Insider NJ, also a faculty member at Bergen Community College. And, you know, he's going to be talking about the executive orders that the president is using, one most recently to lower drug costs, which is a big one. Zen Sam's model, actress, supermom is going to join us a little later in hour one. Eric Sturkin's going to be here, talk to you about how to fix your credit if you got yourself in a jam throughout this quarantine. And then in hour two, some Liquid Lunch alumni are going to be with us. Lauren Conlon's going to be here. She's the host of the Red Carpet Rendezvous podcast. We'll be talking about the passing of the great one, Regis Philbin, and the whole Kanye Kim mess that's going on. And we'll wrap it up with my buddy Jaden Horn, contributor to Metropolitan Magazine and conservative commentator, and quite the host as well, as he had me and some friends over his pad, him and the missus. So we'll reminisce about that also. But we're going to breeze through it, but be right there with us. I am drinking a cool, refreshing White Claw today, and I have a whole load of them in the cooler, chilling for after the show. Join me right after this as we talk to Fernando Uribe. All right, welcome back. You're watching Liquid Lunch on Biz TV. We are ripping our way through a Money Monday today. And on Money Monday, Sometimes he's the leadoff man, sometimes he's the closer, but he's always on the A team for us. And right next door in the Garden State is my good buddy Fernando Uribe. He's a faculty member at Bergen Community College. He's also the host of Politically Direct on Insider NJ, which happens to be killing it. That's his podcast. And Fernando joins us every week. We do a little update on what's happening in the Garden State, New Jersey, because we got so many crazy leftist voices out there, especially the governor of New York and the governor of New Jersey. Mixed messages. This is open, this is closed. I don't know. The liberals are driving me crazy, but we'll see what Fernando's take is on all this stuff as he joins us now from the Garden State, New Jersey, Fernando Uribe. And Fernando, thanks for kicking it off for us today, kicking off the week. A lot of stuff going on for sure. But this Republican relief bill seems to be top of the shop. $1 trillion they're talking about without the payroll tax. What do you see happening here?
We know that a lot of businesses whose revenues have fallen below 50%, this is going to be a welcome sight of relief for them. But I think more importantly for a lot of Americans, John, they're struggling with the fact that in many industries and many other professions, they have not reopened, especially here in New Jersey and in New York, across the river, of course, with you. Many businesses still remain closed. We know that both governors have insisted on keeping many important facets of the economy closed, and thus people are out of work. And the additional $600 that people were receiving during unemployment expires this week. It seems like that it's not going to be renewed at that high amount. And I believe, according to sources that I talked to, that amount is probably going to shrink down to almost $200 extra a week. That's not a lot for many Americans, John. And I think that this is something that the Republican Party is going to have to look at, especially the Senate, when it comes to whether or not Americans are going to get back on their feet. It doesn't seem like this is going to help right now.
Well, look, as far as I'm concerned, anything less than 600 is going to be stimulative because it's going to create a little more incentive for people to go back to work. With the extra 600, nobody wants to go to work. The pandemic just happened to be ending up in July, so everybody thinks they're taking the summer off and they'll figure it out in September, Fernando. But if they take it from 600 to 200, I think that puts people in a little different position to maybe take that job or go back to their job, which could be real helpful.
Absolutely. And without question, that amount has motivated many Americans to, as you said, to take a hiatus during this time period. And for many of them, they're going to have to reevaluate exactly with their finances, what impact it has on their households specifically, as to whether or not they should go back to work. Listen, John, whether it's Indeed.com or other job sites, I mean, there are jobs there. And with this economy and because of COVID, a lot of companies are now offering remote work. And that's something that for many Americans, I think, is something that they should consider exploring. And if that's available to them, listen, if you can go back to work, please do so. The idea that we want to remain sort of dependent on government, that's what the left wants, John. And I understand that for many on the left, that's something that is, music to their ears. But to many Americans, they want to go back to work. They want to earn. They want to go back and earn as much as they possibly could pre-COVID.
No doubt about it. And by the way, I love when our audience out there learns a little thing or two from the show. But I will tell you, I've employed thousands of people in my life. And I've come across a couple of situations where somebody was coming off unemployment and then they got hired and they just coincidentally forgot to tell the department, the unemployment insurance, that they got a new job and they figure they can get both for maybe a month or two and nobody will figure it out. The government has all kinds of fail-safes in place to catch you, so don't do it because you're going to get yourself in even worse trouble. Go get a job and stop taking the money from the government. You're safe in that. But Fernando, I feel like young people are at this point being paid by getting this extra $600 to go protest, basically. Because, any kids just out of college, if they collect unemployment and they go down and throw rocks at cops, we're paying. It's on our dime.
John, listen, you are preaching to the choir when it comes to this. And you've been talking about this at length for months, and I'm with you. We're setting a really bad example right now when it comes to what these blue cities, such as New York, such as Seattle and Portland and others around the country, are enabling young people, and just professional protesters in general when it comes to this political climate that we're living in. And quite frankly, it's a reflection at the failed leadership in these cities. I mean, again, let's start off with Bill de Blasio. Bill de Blasio has been a failure for multiple reasons pre-COVID, but now during this pandemic, I mean, his ineptitude and incompetence has been put under such a microscope that it reminds us exactly why, when you put liberals in charge of cities, this is why they go into ruins. That's why they become disasters. And I know, listen, this is a family-friendly show. There's a word I could use, blank hole, to describe what's happening in the cities. And I can't use that word on the air, but that's what they're becoming.
No, we get it.
They're becoming that because of liberal, governors and liberal mayors. And again, it's a reflection of how intellectually incompetent the left has become, John.
No, I tend to agree with you. And on the de Blasio front, I mean, I've been saying this for literally years. The guy doesn't even go by his name's Warren Wilhelm. He changed his name. He goes under an alias. So, that's pretty slimy in itself. Warren Wilhelm is his real birth name. I don't know how he became Bill de Blasio, but it was a series of years that, he's a sham meister extraordinaire in my view. But the one thing I can say about de Blasio is he ran for New York City mayor. He said, I'm going to raise your taxes. I'm going to let people out of jail. He told everybody about his socialist agenda, and they still voted for him. So I give him credit only for that. I got to give the president some credit here. He took a couple of stinging losses at the Supreme Court, but in the one on Obamacare, I think him and his team realized that the court had opened the door to really expand the president's power under executive privilege, and leaves future administrations really no remedy to get rid of it. So I think he's going to go on an executive order spree. But in this tough economy right now, everyone's still struggling. Signs an executive order to lower drug costs, which has got to be a big relief, right?
Absolutely, and especially for those that depend on insulin. Listen, our hospitals, our clinics, I mean, they've become expensive parts of our pharmaceutical climate. And it's interesting to me, John, when I hear Big Pharma over the weekend complain on record saying that this is irresponsible by the president, it's reckless. John, listen, I'm as much of a capitalist as anybody. I am always about the free markets. But what have we learned about the pharmaceutical industry? They've been predatory for many, many years. They don't like the idea of competitive drug prices. And what the president did this weekend was enable drugs from overseas to come into this market and become more affordable for Americans. I mean, we pay the highest drug costs anywhere in the world. And to see that the president is taking the initiative on this, not just with insulin, but other pharmaceutical dynamics, I think is, again, it's a reminder that the president believes in the free market. He believes in slashing regulations because you know what? That's going to create more competition, and subsequently it makes for a better economy. I don't know why people on the left denounce these sort of policies by the president, because at the end of the day, aren't Democrats and liberals always about, oh, we're advocates for the poor? No, you're not. Listen, when it comes to true economic freedom, we've known over time, John, it's about conservatives and conservative principles that enable better marketplace solutions and a healthier economy. And the president's doing that. So bravo to the president with these executive orders. Listen, the pharmaceutical industry can go kick rocks as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, they made enough. They made enough at this point. You know what I'm saying? No one, there's no sympathy out there for them. And there's a whole another layer we'll talk about another day, but these pharmacy benefit managers who are the middlemen between the pharmaceutical companies and the actual distributors. And I had been suggesting to both Stephen Moore and others that are around the administration that the president could save billions of dollars if he would let people on Medicare get their drugs through the mail and not through a pharmacy and then get delivered. But it's for another day. All right, Fernando, thank you so much, brother. We'll keep in touch, and you got to check out Fernando Uribe on Politically Direct via Insider NJ, and you can catch him every single Monday right here on the Money Monday because he's one of our money guests. Thank you, Fernando. I'll talk to you soon, brother.
Thank you, John. Keep up the great work.
Same there. Same here. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll come on back after this. Get a cold one ready because it's going to get even hotter in here when Zen Sam's joins us right after this. All right, welcome back. This market is crazy. Okay, it's in the Dow's in the green as we get through this first hour here at Liquid Lunch. 26,555, not bad, hanging in there, up almost 100. But Bitcoin is on fire. Like, this girl is on fire. This is on fire. It's at the highs of the day. Just broke through the high of the day and like the high for a month, 10,360. So don't be surprised if you blink your eyes and wake up tomorrow, Bitcoin's 11,000, because that's what kind of core is in there from that whole time between 9 and 10. It was building up a lot of torque to bounce. So keep your eye on that. You're not going to be able to keep your eyes off this. I'm joined right now by Zen Sam. She's a model, actress, producer, super mom, everything, and she's back from Canada, right in the heart of the beast in New York City. Zen, we seem to be coming out of it here. It looks like all our numbers in New York are doing okay, but all these other superstar cities are taking a beating. What's happening with all your cool friends?
Well, you know what? Look, right now we went from worst to first, so I think the tri-state area is doing great, and so California is pretty much at par with where we are in terms of the confirmed cases. So like they're backtracking while we're taking it very seriously and doing all the right things to use the mask as an act of solidarity. But the pandemic does threaten the assets that make America's most successful cities so dynamic, and not only for the bars, the museums and theaters, but also for their dense networks of basically innovative businesses and highly skilled workers, you know, bumping into one another, sharing ideas.
Yep.
You go to the store, you know, lifting productivity, talking about innovation, and cities are more endangered now than in the 19th century, even though this plague is less severe because we're actually rich enough to imagine a de-urbanized world. And, you know, Mark Zuckerberg not long ago said that he wants to reconfigure the company so half of its employees could basically work from home within the next decade. Twitter has said it will allow employees to work from home indefinitely. And the University of Chicago estimates that almost 40% of the nation's jobs can be done from home. So if this model does catch on, John, it could reconfigure the geography of America's tech industries.
No question about it. On the market side of things, since back in February, I've been forecasting this myself, and I've been shorting stocks that are going to be reliant on rent from commercial real estate, because high-rise buildings in metro areas are just not going to repopulate, not at 100%, possibly ever, according to you and the University of Chicago. So I'm with you, and I think employers now are kind of reimagining their commercial footprint. Like, hey, these people are better from home. They don't have to commute. They don't have to get the kid to school, this, that, the other thing. I'd rather let this guy work from home forever because I've seen now he's better. And then they start calculating, well, how many square feet do I have right now? And how many do I really need, even if I stagger staff? And I think people are going to cut down. Most businesses, your biggest expense is your real estate. So if people cut that, that's going to be stimulative to business. But commercial realty companies and REITs and stuff are going to get crushed.
Yeah, and if big city businesses, like you said, do find that work from home doesn't hit their productivity too hard, they might reassess the need to pay top dollar to keep employees, say, in Seattle or the Bay Area, and workers cooped up in a 2-bedroom in Long Island City or Queens might just prefer moving to the suburbs or even further away to save rent. But here's the good news, John. You know, cities are remarkably resilient, and they have risen from the ashes after being, you know, carpet bombed and hit with nuclear weapons. And if you think about the pandemics in the past, according to a very, very noted Princeton economist, his name is Esteban Hansberg, they didn't destroy cities because cities are valuable. He said that, and I always remember that reference. New York metropolitan area generates more economic output than Australia or Spain. Altogether, 10 cities home to under a quarter of the country's population account for almost half of its patents and a third of its economic production.
Wow.
So, but it might not be, too terrible in my mind for urban living. Because think about this, John. Consider life in a reconfigured New York City. Rents are lower after the departure of many of its bankers and lawyers. There are fewer fancy restaurants, but probably still many cheaper ones. People with lower incomes, including the young, can finally afford to live in town again. City services may be reduced, but if a fifth of more of workers aren't going into the office anyway on a given day, it's going to be easier to get around. So for a city like New York, I think, and I'm a city girl, COVID-19 offers an opportunity for redemption because I'm a big...
Oh, come on. I was giving it to you. There's no redemption. And, your opening point was probably the best one, that people don't realize the intangible about networking. You go out after work. You go, to a local place. I used to go to Bobby Van. Certain people knew I was there. They would come over to bring me ideas and deals. Other times, I would run into people and say, hey, how are you? But you exchange cards, and those opportunities, if you ask me, when you meet people out socially, you figure out if you like them right off the bat, if you want to do business with them, you follow up, and I've probably made more deals by meeting people out after work, people who I didn't know before, networking, than these organized things where you get, a deal and then 10 emails and a conference call and everything else. I always used to say the back of the napkin was the best deal, and that's pretty much off the table for the foreseeable future. All right, the last thing, you're talking about tailors now know everyone's pandemic secret. Everybody got fat. I got fat. My jacket, this is the first time I worn a jacket, but the button could knock out the lens at any second right now if it pops, because it's screaming for help. What do the tailors know?
In about 4 months into this pandemic, the one service industry that's sudden in demand is that people needed a bit more breathing room in their clothing, and tailors are hard at work. Everybody got fat, literally. It's not only in New York, it's all over the world that people got fat. In the city where basically gyms are closed and Netflix and your couch are the fastest evening entertainment, the phenomenon of stay-at-home weight gain, playfully called the Quarantine 15 by some, has brought on unexpected windfall for all our local tailors, which is crazy to me. But anyhow, some said that they have seen businesses rise as much as 80% with customers exactly like what you just said, John, for buttons to be moved, waistbands lengthened, and jackets to be more roomy. So if some people are uncomfortable and bloated, they go work out. Others, they go to their tailor.
Yeah, I'm choosing the tailor route myself. I haven't been to the gym in, 2 decades or so, I would say. So that's not my route home. First, I'm going to move the buttons, and then I'm going to go for some liposuction.
I have a plan too, but tailors recommend certain fabrics with stretch to deal with inertia-based weight gain.
She wants me to wear Lycra suits now, this chick. I love her. You're the best. All right, Zen, we got to leave it there. You're the bomb. Hopefully, I'll see you again on Wednesday.
Yes, ma'am. I'll see you soon.
She's fantastic. John. She's with us all the time. And that's Zen Sam's model, actress, philanthropist, supermom. She is the best. You're the best for being with us every day and kicking off your week with us for a liquid lunch. But don't go anywhere. As you can see, today's show is going fantastically smooth. That's because Nico is not feeling well. He has a tummy ache. I'll get better, buddy. But Ava, my daughter, and Jess are running the show, and it's smooth as silk, to be honest with you. If your credit's not smooth as silk, stay tuned for this. We got credit repair expert Eric Sturkin joining us right after this.
For more Liquid Lunch, head over to YouTube, do a search for Liquid Lunch TV, and hit that subscribe button.
All right, welcome back. Just breezing through the first hour here of a Money Monday edition of Liquid Lunch on Biz TV. I'm John Tobacco. Dow's doing okay. It's holding his own, but keeping my eye closely on a developing situation here in Bitcoin. As you know, for the last month and a half or so, I've been telling you 10,300 was my next resistance level that we needed to bust through. And through 10,300, I saw 11, 12, potentially 15 if there's any calamities in the U.S. capital markets, 15,000. The big news for me today, Bitcoin just broke through strong through that 10,300. It's at 10,408 now. 10.5, 10.6 are in sight, and that will just foment some more buying. There's a thing called FOMO, the fear of missing out. And if people were trying to buy it at 94, 95, ooh, let me wait. Now when it busts through 10, 10.5, they see all kinds of stops being busted through. Everybody jumps in. That foments it. Sometimes can really drive it. And people are short Bitcoin also now. And if they're short, they're stuck. So there could be a bunch of mitigating factors here that could really eliminate some hurdles for Bitcoin in the near term. Keep your eye on that, okay? In the meantime, during the pandemic, maybe you're struggling, maybe you lost your job, you didn't get approved for, and now you got credit card bills, you're not paying them. At some point, you got to dust yourself off. You got to stand up and you got to start fighting back, get that job back, get that credit right, and get back onto your plan for your life. And somebody who knows all about this and can maybe even help you get back on your feet and clean up your credit. Credit repair expert Eric Sturkin joins us now. He's the owner of Better Qualified in Eatontown, New Jersey. They are a credit repair and credit management firm. And Eric, business must be booming right now for you guys because everybody that didn't get unemployment is struggling hard.
John, you're absolutely right. Thanks for having me. And I think it's going to get a lot worse. I think, we have the extra $600 they're deciding on now. Hopefully today we get some announcement, but I don't think everyone's going to get that extra $600 on unemployment. And for those that didn't get any of it, it's been tough, especially if you're from the service industry. We all see it on the Jersey Shore. It's been, restaurants open at 25%. Makes it kind of difficult for businesses to stay in business. But, we'll see what happens after the end of today. They're supposed to announce something about the unemployment, and we'll see. But like you said, it's getting tough out there. Credit card debt is starting to pile up. I've spoken to a bunch of friends down in, all over the country, kind of where they're on lockdown. But, some of these service industries, they're just using their credit cards to pay bills, and we'll see. We'll end up seeing what happens after today.
Yeah, well, the early word that was leaking out was that it's going to go from 600 to 200, and as terrible as that may sound, I think that might push people who are not taking their jobs back to actually go back to work if they're not getting that extra 400. So I think that's maybe a happy medium. But one of the things that I've been talking about for years, and I really believe there's a government war on cash. They do not want us regular people having cash in our hands. The pandemic gave them what I thought a great opening. Almost every bank closed a boatload of branches. So you can only go to the drive-through. Most drive-throughs you can only take out 1,500. So if you need to take out more than 1,500 in cash, you got to go in a branch, and it's another impediment to getting cash. Now, you're reporting that they're also not issuing more credit cards now, right?
Correct. Yeah, well, the banks have started now to not only not issue, but also to cut back and cut limits. Two-thirds, the number, the crazy with the 600, but 2/3 of Americans that were on unemployment were making more on unemployment. So in that, the banks kind of forecast everything, envision what might happen. They're probably smarter than us. One out of 5 people in America got their credit limit cut, and that's up to 5,000 in some cases. That's a big number. That's 20% of the United States. The other quarter of that number, because between the two of them, had their limit had just cards closed. And what ends up happening when this happens, because they call it utilization, right? It makes up 30% of your FICO score. So it's what you have available to compared to what you are using. So easy math, if you have a $10,000 limit and you use $2,000 on your credit card, that's a 20% utilization. Anything over 28% is now going to start to hurt your credit score. And let's just say you're maxed out and now you're at 100% utilization, your score could be could fluctuate up to 30%. So when that happens, let's just say they cut your credit line or they actually close your card, the utilization always has to go down because now they're taking away your credit limit. That's what's called the downward spiral. And when certain banks have certain flags out there, because they see your credit report, even though you don't, you're not paying attention to it, but let's just say your score goes from a 720 to a 660. Now you're a flag with, let's just say, Chase or Bank of America. And what they'll be forced to do is now take away your credit limit of credit that you're not using.
And then that makes you, and then taking away that available credit, that makes your utilization rate go up because you still have the same amount of debt, but you have less cash to do your utilization.
You have less utilization.
So then they actually kill your credit score. And I got to tell you, Eric, I've been on this Wall Street thing for 30 years, and back in 2008, I was one of the only guys on television talking about this same thing, that banks were going around and they were cutting the amount available on people's home equity lines. And that, to me, I was calling every bank short back then. I almost got famous from those calls. But one of the things I knew back then, or at least I saw in advance, was this is an accounting trick too for the banks. When the banks are having problems and they got to keep writing off debt, the way that they're structured and with the Federal Reserve, they have to reduce their liability to offset the stuff they're writing off. So that's why they start hitting on people with good credit and lowering their limit, because people with good credit aren't maxed out. So they chop away at that to offset the write-downs so they don't have to have as much cash reserves. And I think this could be another precursor to a big problem with like a Wells Fargo or somebody out there who could be on the brink of blowing up when they start doing this stuff.
Yep. And what's going to happen too, of course, you have people that are maxed out now. Let's just say the 600 gets cut and now they're back down to 200, and they can't make minimum payments. They can't find a job because now a lot of the white collar jobs, they say between 20 and 30% have been reduced just because of either computing or AI, as they call it, or just that they tweaked their internal operations and made it so that less people could do the same jobs. So we'll see what happens. I mean, again, with credit card debt, once you get over that 100%, now your credit scores, you're shot. So once you're shot, what happens? Now you have more and more and more other creditors that are going to flag you. And now, at the end of the day, you have no credit. And then what do you do?
Hey, Eric, there's a lot of shysters out there. I've been around the block a few times who say, oh, yeah, we can get your credit fixed. Boom, boom, we'll do this, we'll do that. 2 months, pay me this, pay me that. You guys are reputable. You guys are qualified. In fact, you guys are better qualified in Eatontown, New Jersey. And what's the reality of the situation? If somebody's credit's mucked up, how long should it take you guys to at least show them some material progress, and what should it cost them, roughly?
Yep, and I say the same thing to everybody. Once I see a credit report, you can kind of, like a doctor, gauge how long and what you can and can't do. Majority of people, the credit issues they have, they did to themselves. I mean, a lot of times you have people say, this wasn't me, this was identity theft, or this is a family member, or, I have no idea what this is. In those cases, listen, the bureaus have to move within 30 days. If they don't, and you have proper paperwork and they don't move within 30 days, they open themselves up for lawsuits. We're hoping for that, right? So, but majority of the time, it's someone that went late on their credit card payment, went late on a mortgage, or forgot to pay a bill that they got from a doctor or, from a hospital. Now they have a medical bill. Good for us, though, two Julys ago, so July 18th, they changed the law where medical debt, it took 6 months before they could attach it to your credit report as a collection. So they had to keep coming after you instead, until they put that on your credit report. So that helped us. But primarily what we tell customers, and we've been doing this since 2005, on average, you're about 90 days away from being able to correct some things. The law says it should take 30 days for them to investigate. But since COVID and April 1st, they came out with statements that said, instead of having a 30-day window where they have to respond, it was more of a gray open area that says as fast as they could respond.
Okay, that's a little scary.
Yeah, it was a crazy kind of couple months where we would demand certain things and the bureaus just wouldn't move. We're now seeing a lot of stuff getting removed, which is they're probably back in business and getting caught up. So
All right.
timing is pretty awesome for
right.
for the industry.
Fantastic. We're going to have to leave it there. If you're having problems with your credit, don't get scammed, okay? Nobody can do something for you in 30 days. You heard it here from Eric. It's going to be 60, 90, could be 6 months. But if you need help, go to Better Qualified in Eatontown, New Jersey. Eric Sturkin will help you out. Thanks for
John.
helping us out today. And you guys stay right with us. We'll be back right after this to talk about the rabbit hole and Justin Bieber.
5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome back. You're watching a Money Monday edition of Liquid Lunch on Biz TV. I'm John Tobacco. And you know what? When you're hot, you're hot. Here in New York, it is boiling. It's 1,000 degrees outside. You could boil a chicken in my pool right now. That's how hot it is. The pool water's hot. I was in it yesterday. It was literally like a bath. It was better than being out in just the full staggering heat. But in any event, Overstock.com. Another stock, and I don't talk about single stocks a lot. Most of the time when I'm talking about single stocks on this show, since we started, it's being short. Like I'm short companies like Nike and commercial realty companies like Brookfield Asset Management, Simon Property Group, AMC Theaters, Macy's, Gap stores, all stores that are really, really reliant on indoor commercial retail. And all of those shorts since February are winning big, okay? But one stock that I've been talking about for a while to the upside, just 3 months ago, was $4. I started telling you recently, $40, $50, that they'd really turned it around in a lot of ways. Much cooler ad campaigns, much more competitive pricing, and more importantly, the quarantine actually brought a whole bunch of their loyal customers out in force, and obviously some new customers because they're on fire, doing really well. And their cryptocurrency division, T0, which I was the vice president of, is also seeing some tremendous gains by a lot of positive things happening. They just signed up their first security token to trade on the ecosystem. So lots of things happening there. And again, you never see this on the major news networks, especially CNBC. There are people who are paid to talk to you about stocks. They never go back and show you, oh, look, he was right, or oh, look, he was wrong, because they're mostly wrong. They're all shilling for a different reason, so they don't like to put their record up on display. Even when they're right, they don't like to tell you, because then they have to tell you when they're wrong, okay? So I tell you when I'm right, to hopefully you'll get a little more confidence in taking a look at the things I'm telling you I'm doing for myself. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm drinking White Claws as we speak right now. It is hot out. And on Friday, I've been telling you that I thought that comparing the business models with Wayfair at 200, I think that Overstock is a tremendous buy. And take a look at what I said about Overstock on Friday. Overstock at 53 bucks, up 30 cents today. Quite the week, quite the month, quite the 3 months. And Overstock announces that they will be trading Aspen Coin, a ski resort digital currency. So you can buy a little piece of a ski resort if you want, using a cryptocurrency that'll trade on Overstock's T0 platform. More great news every day coming out of that company, and quite frankly, I think there's going to be some monumental news come like September. So I would be not short, because shorts are getting their rear ends handed to them in Overstock, and I would be biased long. And if you trade options, you know, I would try to look for some options with like September-ish on them, and you could make if you ask me, a nice score. I think the stock's going to 100, and I think there could be some other bonus news in there that would be real good for everyone involved, including me. That was Friday. The stock was $53. A little bit after that, I went on to talk about how Bitcoin at 9,500 could easily break 10.3. The Bitcoin happened. And just to bring you up to speed on what's happening with Overstock since Friday, 53 bucks closed on Friday. And if you want to take a look at where it is today coming into the show, and I think more great things ahead, the stock is up almost $4 today at 57.16. And this thing is like a house on fire. Like, you can't get in the way of this thing right now. And they've done some clever things. They gave out a dividend recently, which was a digital dividend, which has given a whole bunch of short sellers a real nightmare of a headache because they can't cover their shorts. And Overstock keeps coming out with organic news that's positive, and the shorts are squeezed like you can't believe. And the only thing worse for the shorts than that is the fundamentals are actually coming behind it. It's not just some one big news announcement and there's a pop. This thing has been pounding short sellers for months now. And believe me, over the course of my life, I've been involved with Overstock in so many different ways. And one of them was in the former CEO Patrick Byrne's jihad against short sellers, where he exposed basically the whole industry for manipulative naked shorting. So we were in proverbial holy war between those of us for free capital markets, unmanipulated stocks, and fair trade, and the evil cabal of short sellers who use the media and blogs and other things to spread bad news so they can make money by pounding stocks down. If stocks are bad, shorting is good. You can find fundamentally poor companies that make money because they go down as they're supposed to go down. Okay, there is another group of people out there that try to make stocks go down, and that's the bad ones. Those are the manipulators, and every so often, the good guys get the bad guys in a vice. And right now, Overstock's got them in quite the precarious position. And Jonathan Johnson, Sam Noslehi, and the management team over at Overstock is backfilling with great fundamentals, strength, growth, and that's the worst news a short seller could hear, because there's no end in sight as far as I could see. And I broke down a couple of weeks ago for you how you know, this whole conspiracy theory about how Wayfair is selling cabinets with missing children's names on them, that's a little too deep for me. But what I do know about Wayfair is they've never made money in history, ever. Every time they need more money to run these big advertising campaigns, they issue more stock and they dilute the existing shareholders. So there's like almost no possibility, if you know anything about markets, there's almost no possibility of Wayfair ever making money. So if that stock's $200, I think it's safe to say Overstock, with the fundamentals, the growth, and the tremendous innovation in their crypto division, I think the stock could easily be 100, and that's, you know, what I'm betting on. You figure out if that's for you, but take a closer look at it. If you're thinking about buying Wayfair or Etsy or whatever, look at Overstock stock, and you'll see that as far as I'm concerned, I don't have a dog in the fight. I don't know anything. But I know a good company when I see one, and if I didn't, I'd be shorting it, which I'm not. Take a quick break. Don't short us now. Stick with us. We're going to kick off hour 2 right after this, and hopefully we'll be joined by Frank Morano. Hey, welcome back. You know, you don't know what goes on. I always want to have a little music coming into these segments, but we just don't have all the technical capabilities, so I'm playing my own music in. I'm sorry, that's Hootie and the Blowfish. And we're joined right now by Lauren Conlin. And the reason I'm playing Hootie and the Blowfish, because the lyric is, if the sun comes out tomorrow, let her in. And I was just suggesting that we let her in. And when we let her in, the sun comes out all the time. It's our entertainment expert and the host of the Red Carpet Rendezvous podcast herself, Lauren Conlin. Hello, Lauren. How are you?
Hi,
Hi, how are you? That was such a nice intro. Thank you.
You see, I just did that spontaneously because Ava said, should I let her in? And I said, let her in, you know?
I love it.
But I love
I love
Hootie.
it. That was so creative.
I love Hootie. Hootie's like one of my all-time favorites. But all right,
I do too. I grew up Hootie and the Blowfish.
Yeah, good, like fun music, you know, like good stuff.
I agree.
So we have a lot to talk about here. I know neither of us has kept our assignment to watch Cracker yet, so we'll put that on hold for a little bit. I know the dog days of summer, the beach, and all. I didn't do it either, so I'm not mocking you at all.
Thank you.
There are a lot more important things to talk about. The past 2 weeks of your guests on the Red Carpet Rendezvous we'll get to in a minute. But first and foremost, one of the people that I have always tried to emulate as a talk show host, Regis Philbin, I think kind of was everybody's favorite guy, like in the morning, you know, Regis and Kathy Lee, you know, like you fell in love with the guy, and that was just one of many things he did. Tell us a little bit about Regis Philbin and his impact on entertainment, please.
So I was so sad to hear the passing of Regis Philbin. I don't know why, but I didn't think of him as being almost 90 years old. To me, he was still in his 70s, going strong. But I actually grew up watching him on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. That was Regis for me. He was amazing on that show, and I basically watched it because of him. I don't know if anybody knows this also, but he actually held the Guinness Book of World Records for most hours logged on TV. He logged somewhere like 16,000 hours. So he was a very busy man.
Oh, no question about it. And the guy was so versatile. You know, he could do the New Year's Eve. He could do the morning show with Kathy Lee. And he was in prime time for how long? And, you know, I don't know if you see it in my performance skills because I'm weak, but, you know, he had a very charming way of not talking down to the audience, but talking to the audience, and he would be self-deprecating, and he would sometimes poke fun at his production staff, you know, his producer, Gelman, and other times he would compliment them and do nice things for them. And it always made, to me, like you said, you watched Who Wants to Be a Millionaire because you wanted to see Regis. You didn't really care about the game show because he was entertaining, and he kind of let you feel like you knew him somehow. You know what I mean?
He was a class act. You nailed it. He never talked down to anybody. He was so classy. He stuck to the rules, but he also made for an intriguing show. So he definitely is goals for anybody that's on air.
No doubt about it. Now let's go to the most recently announced presidential candidate, Kanye West. He's running on the birthday party, and his slogan is yes. And he's having some significant meltdowns on television. He had a rally last week, and he put some crazy tweets out there that he wants to divorce Kim. He was saying that Kim's mother, Kris Jenner, is Chris Jong-un, and he was saying that, you know, they order cabinets on Wayfair with all this out, like he's saying everything about them possible.
Yeah, he said some pretty crazy stuff. And actually, Frank and I were just talking about this last week, that it's hard for me now to say Kanye at his presidential rally because I just can't wrap my head around it. But ever since that rally, and I'm sure everybody knows about this already, Kanye said things like Harriet Tubman didn't actually free the slaves. He and Kim wanted to abort their first child, just really embarrassing Kim and bringing shame upon their children. So Kim obviously wasn't happy, and Kanye reacted by tweeting that Kim and her mother, Kris Jong-un, want to have him locked up. They want to take his kids away, blah, blah, blah. And Kim actually came back last week and said, look, if everybody could just please respect us and give us some space, Kanye's actually having a bipolar episode. So I had heard rumors that Kanye was bipolar, but I didn't actually know that was a confirmed fact. Wow. So he is bipolar. He was having an episode. He wasn't taking his medication, and this is what happened. And I think we can think of a few occasions in the past where this has happened as well. I'm thinking of when he came up on stage when Taylor Swift won the MTV VMA and said, oh, Beyonce should have won, blah, 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 blah. So he's done this before. We're all very used to it. But he also issued an apology 2 days ago as well.
Yeah,
Apologizing to
Lauren,
Kim.
but let me ask you this. At the same time he did that to Taylor Swift. He's done this a bunch of times in the past. It always coincides with him having a new album or something coming out because, you know, he doesn't care what lengths he has to go to for promotion. He's getting tons of free airtime. People are talking about Kanye. You know what I mean? So is this some of it a stunt?
Maybe that's a thing where he gears up and says, okay, no medication this week because I need to do some crazy-ish.
Yeah,
I don't know.
right.
That's messed up. Oh my God.
Yeah, that is messed up. But hey, who knows? You know, people use all different methods to motivate themselves. I can tell
that
you
would be really
firsthand.
messed up, but
that
who
would.
knows?
All right, so the past couple of weeks on the Red Carpet Rendezvous, from what I understand, you're doing quite magnificent work. And you had Malcolm McDowell and the director of the Netflix doc, Mucho Amor. Tell us first of all, Malcolm McDowell talked about the 50th anniversary of Clockwork Orange. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so that is coming out, or that is happening next year, the 50th anniversary. So I brought it up to Malcolm sort of in passing. It was my last question that I had with him, and it ended up being so rewarding to hear his answer. When I asked him about a fond memory he had from making the film, he actually went into detail telling me that he was actually responsible for his costume. It was actually his cricket outfit that he just had in his car randomly, and Stanley happened to say, do you have anything that you can wear? And he's like, I just have my cricket outfit. So Stanley loved it. Stanley Kubrick, I'm talking about the director of Clockwork Orange. And Stanley asked him to put the protector, like the, I don't know what you call it, that protects your junk. That's probably not the right word for television.
I think it's called like a jock strap.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, couldn't think of it. So, you know, the protector, and Stanley said, can you put that on the front, like on top of everything? And he said, sure. So that was his costume. And then Malcolm said he was at a random store and he saw a yard of eyelashes. So he purchased them as a joke. And Stanley said, oh, you have to wear them. And he said, really? I bought them for you. But he put the lashes on one eye, basically. And Stanley said, you know what? This is perfect. There's something creepy and off about you. And I don't know what it is. Oh, boom, it's the eyelashes. So that was such an amazing story to hear.
Well, that's a cricket outfit with a jock strap over it and one one set of eyelashes.
Thank you for the jock strap. Couldn't think of that. So.
All right, Lauren, you are the bomb. Thank you so much for joining us. And hopefully by next week, one of us can watch Cracker and then the other can make fun of the other for not having done it.
Yeah, that sounds good. You know, that's probably going to be you watching.
All right, that's my friend Lauren Conlon. You got to check out the Red Carpet Rendezvous podcast because she literally gets all the A-listers to come on her show, and it's cool, and she's our good friend. Just like you are, so stay right there. We'll come back right after this and talk about some news of the day on Liquid Lunch. We're joined by the ever-growing anomaly, the one and only Frank Morano, who continues to skyrocket to radio fame, much on the trajectory that he has planned for himself, and maybe ahead of schedule, but he's one of the best in the business, my partner from day one, and joins us from the new offices of 77 WABC Radio. You're at the new studios now, Frank?
I am. We're still working out some of the growing pains, but you know, it's a great location. It's a nice building, and everybody is a little less space than what we had at the other location, but they're still building out the offices and the desks and everything. So
you're cutting off your head. There you go. Stay like that. That looks really good. When you leaned in, you were just in the dark.
Got it. But no, yeah, so far so good.
What's cracking in the news, Frank? What are you talking about today on? What were you talking about today on LAR?
Well, obviously the news that the president's national security advisor Robert O'Brien has tested positive for the coronavirus is pretty interesting. He's now the highest-ranking person in the government to come down with the coronavirus. And the news that these 14 Miami Marlins, back when I was growing up, they were the Florida Marlins. Now they're the Miami Marlins. they have the coronavirus as well. And that's caused the Yankee-Philadelphia Phillies game to be postponed because the Phillies were just playing the Marlins. So a lot of uncertainty about what this means for the future of the baseball season, such as it is, because the baseball season, every team has now played at least 3 games, including the Mets. They would have been better off taking the last 3 days off, clearly, but every team's now played at least 3 games. That means this under this new 60-game baseball season, all of the baseball season is 5% over already. So we're already seeing kind of a different dynamic with respect to baseball, and it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out.
Yeah, I mean, for us, poor slobs who are fans of the New York Mets, when it would be nice if our closer Diaz got the coronavirus for a little while, maybe. I don't wish him dead or anything, but maybe,
no, of course not.
Somewhere along the line, if the manager is not aware of how badly this guy blows games, maybe if he comes in contact with someone with COVID, doesn't get it, but he'll still have to quarantine for 2 weeks. That might be a good way to not have him come in and blow games, because we had the game 1 again the other night, and it's like a repeat of last year.
Yeah, the other thing, and I had our friend Jennifer Borcuevas on today talking about this, that a lot of people are wondering how it was going to work out, is the situation involving Kanye West's presidential candidacy. I mean, it seems pretty clear that he's in the midst of some sort of mental breakdown. And the last time Lauren Conlon was on, I spoke with her about this as well. You've never really seen a situation like this where somebody so famous is simultaneously running for president and seeming to have some sort of a mental episode before our very eyes. And I'm curious, one, how this is going to affect his presidential candidacy, and two, assuming he doesn't get elected, what this means for the future of his career as an entertainer. I think it's in many respects, it's a very sad situation to watch, because clearly Kanye seems to me anyway to be in need of some serious help and doesn't seem to be getting it.
I did talk to our buddy, the prodigious Joe Borelli today. Launched, his book. I guess he announced the launch of his book.
And it's his birthday today, too.
Whoa, I didn't even... Oh, that's right. It was launched on his birthday. I didn't even pick up the birthday part. But I guess it'll be... You could buy it on Amazon, and... it's all about Staten Island. Staten Island's role in the revolution, and Staten Island's role in some major attacks that happened. And
it's a terrific book. I read a first draft of it. If you're a history buff or a Staten Islander, it's certainly worth picking up. And I know Joe's really worked his whole life to be a published author. So to see his dream come true on his birthday, certainly something that, as his friend and as his constituent, I couldn't be happier to see.
Fantastic. All right, my brother, thank you for testing with us, and we even got you on for a little while. Thank you so much. We got to leave
Sounds
it there.
good, John. I'll see you
Hopefully
later
I'll
in the
see you
weekend.
tomorrow, okay?
Great. I'd love it.
All right. Quick break. More Liquid Lunch right after this with Jaden Horn. Welcome back. I'm just keeping you right up to date on, to me, the most developing story for a Money Monday is what's happening with Bitcoin today, and it is literally on fire. 10,773, almost bumping right up against 11,000. And my thoughts were it would really bounce off this 9,500 support level. That's happening. 10.3 is the number we needed to get through. That's happening. I said maybe tomorrow it'll be 11,000, and maybe 11,000 before the show ends. So I'll keep you up to date on that. But I will tell you that 11,100 is the next place where there's a tiny bit of support, a resistance where it may get knocked down at 11.1. And if it doesn't, if it busts through there with any strength, 12,100 was the 1 year high. So that's the highest it's been in the last 12 months. If it gets through there, all hell could break loose. And if you're long Bitcoin, it's going to be good news for you. Now, more good news for you is I'm joined by my good friend and conservative commentator, contributor to Metropolitan Magazine, Jaden Horn joins us right now. And You know, Jaden, I know we're going to talk about the protests and the riots and all this lawlessness, but I did want to point out that just a couple of weeks back, Jaden was nice enough to invite Frank and I to a gathering, an intimate gathering at his home, which is in New York City. And as a Staten Island, I was like, yeah, I love Jaden, but do I really want to go into the city? And you know, and then Frank said, I can't go. My wife doesn't feel good. And I said, all right, well, one of us has to go to Jaden's party, so I'll go represent for the team. And I'm so glad that I did go into the city and go to the Horn residence because it was a wonderful night. And I want to thank you and the missus for having me.
Absolutely. It was our pleasure to have you come, John.
Great pad, great group of people. Met Gavin Wax there from the Young Republicans, and just a really cool night. And thank you and the missus again. So I didn't see any lawlessness around your neighborhood, but you live, you know, where the cool people are at. But it seems like you know all these blue cities are just allowing, you know, these lawless societies to exist. What's happening here, brother?
Yeah, I think what we really have here is a phenomenon where we have the politicization of violence, and where we have political parties that are tolerating violence at their fringes because it achieves political ends. A recent poll was conducted where almost 60% of Democrats see that the virus and the attendant protests is something that they could play to a political advantage. And only 6 Republicans saw that that could be played to a political advantage for them. So I think that tells you a lot about what's happening. Democrats, most of them are rightly aghast at the violence that they're seeing. However, they know politically that it will pay dividends for them. And the media complex that so many left liberals are a part of are using it as a weapon to bludgeon President Trump, not understanding the incredibly dangerous effects that it is having. And I just wanted to point out that the violence that we saw in Charlottesville, when roughly 200, that's all they could get out, 200 white supremacists showed up, was magnified by the media to be a incredibly dangerous event for our nation. And rightfully so. We don't want white supremacists out there marching anywhere. And one person died. And yet over the weekend, we had riots, not protests. We had riots in 6 major cities in the United States in which multiple people were shot and one actually ended up dead. And the media covers it as intense protests because the political aims of the rioters are something that left liberals can agree with, which is the end of Republican hegemony and Donald Trump as president. And
right.
So the phenomenon we're seeing, John, is incredibly dangerous to the American Republic.
Yeah, and let me tell you something. I'm watching Morning Joke this morning, and the first thing they start talking about is how Donald Trump is sending in federal troops to protect federal buildings, and this is fomenting the anger. This is everything is exploding because Trump sent in the federal troops. No. How about if the mayors stop all this mayhem, he doesn't have to send in the troops. It's not Trump's fault. It's the left and Antifa and George Soros who are paying more to keep this happening. And Jaden, I got to tell you, I really believe that the more they amplify the politicization of this rioting and stuff, I really think it backfires on this bunch of idiots on the left, because Donald Trump's going to be able to stand up there and say, hey, you want that or you want this? I'm sending in troops to keep you safe. They're defunding the police and having a summer of love at your expense. So I think it actually winds up working against them at some point.
I mean, I hope that actually is what happens, but I fear that unfortunately the American public is not going to see it that way. And I'll say this: on this program, 4 months ago, I came on and I warned that when pandemics occur in history, there is it is followed by massive social unrest. Republicans, this president, our elected leaders, should have had the foresight to know that regardless of whether it would erupt over George Floyd or any other incident, that this would occur on a massive scale with the largest shutdown of this nation's economy in its entire history. The fact that they are not prepared and have not been prepared, and there is not either the political will on either side of the aisle, really, or the media's will to cover this in a unbiased way tells me a lot about our elected leaders, in that the leadership that we have is kind of what we deserve. And it's very unfortunate, because what our country is facing is the greatest and gravest social unrest in our entire history. In no less than 1,000 cities nationwide, we have had riots of some type, not over George Floyd only, but since then, over the virus response, over demands for justice or equality, or for the removal of federal forces that they believe to be federal forces. And now we have counter riots by right-wing groups that are also seizing this opportunity because, again, our elected leaders have lacked the foresight. And I have to say, where is our FBI, John, that is tasked with, since 9/11, with identifying domestic terrorist threats, to see the training that these individuals have demonstrated that they have when they attack federal courthouses? Federal courthouses.
Yep. And not for nothing, but when you say, where's the FBI? For the good part of the last 4 years, the FBI has been focused on spying on Trump's presidential campaign, and the whole top of the apparatus was involved. Comey, McCabe, Rod Rosenstein, all these people that were our law and order folks here domestically, they weren't looking at breaking up Antifa or finding out George Soros's financial connections to Act Blue and Planned Parenthood and all these other organizations. Instead, they were trying to frame up a case against Trump and his whole team for Russian collusion, which didn't happen. So you're right. The FBI is almost negligent in this, because I really believe that the peaceful protests that started on behalf of George Floyd's killing were peaceful. And these Marxists, these socialists, these Antifites, these anarchists realized that this was a perfect flashpoint to engage in typical Marxist behavior, radical
exactly right.
unrest.
Look at the racial. Look at the racial outlook of the protesters that came out in the wake of George Floyd. It was actual members of the Black community of all age groups and demographics. The people participating in protests now are overwhelmingly white. The wall of moms in Portland is white. The wall of veterans is white. The agitators are white. It has nothing to do with George Floyd anymore. It has everything to do with anti-government. But back to the FBI, you're absolutely right. Under the 8 years of Barack Obama's administration, he weaponized the FBI, and not just against eventual nominee Donald Trump, but also against his own Democratic nominee, Hillary Clinton. Let's not forget that the FBI spent the entirety of 2016 investigating the two major party candidates, rather than investigating groups in the United States that could form an insurrection against it. That is what they spent their time on. That is what our FBI is spending its time on. And we've talked about this on this program before, and people have defended the FBI, saying that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. Well, I don't know if they're doing what they're supposed to be doing when we have federal agents who are being attacked, and when we have cities that are being burned by people who claim that they care about one cause, but have never been a part of it until today.
Yeah. Well, I remember that episode where you were talking about this stuff, and that's why you're on the A team. That's why you're always there for us. And Jaden, you gotta have me back again, or I gotta have you and the missus over to my place to reciprocate. But thank you so much, pal. I appreciate it, and I miss you.
Absolutely. I can't wait till we actually can be together in person.
Yes, that would be fun also. Those were the days. But all right, that's my buddy Jaden Horn. He's a contributor to Metropolitan Magazine, conservative commentator, and he's always there for us. You know him. All right, crack open a cold one. The girls are going to correct my mistakes from today as we do the WTF, and I may go a little bit deeper down the rabbit hole right after this.
Welcome back, folks.
I've been taking my makeup off every day with the coronavirus wipes.
How's it working?
I'm still corona free.
Didn't even wipe your fake tan off.
Well, that's because that's not a fake tan. That's a real tan. Now, in the last segment of the show every day, if there are mistakes in the show, I allow my team to assassinate me and point them out and make fun of me for them. and I'm fine with that. I'm a good sport. And lately, I've been, doing so well at not making mistakes that I've been taking the last segment to go a little deeper down the rabbit hole. So before I go down the rabbit hole today, Jess, did I have any significant mistakes today which you noticed?
It displeases me greatly to say that you had 0 mistakes today. Again.
All right, so I'm on a roll. I didn't have any mistakes today. I'm going to have to, put some serious consideration into it, but it may be a mistake for me to let Nico come back to work, considering that he said he's been, nauseous, not feeling well. I mean, we had a good clean zone here. Rosa comes tomorrow and cleans the whole house. So the last thing we want is, somebody who's poisonated. So we may have to look at that. But other than that, no mistakes from the team. Congratulations to the team. Golf clap for Ava and Jess. Did the whole entire show today by himself, and there was literally not one mistake. A far cry from Friday where we were loaded with mistakes. But in any event, now that I have some time to kill, because I don't have any mistakes to correct, I want to revisit a story I talked about last week, okay? And last week I was talking about, Isaac Cappy was a pretty famous Hollywood actor who started coming out and talking about all these pedophiles and Satan worshipers in Hollywood. He wound up dead in mysterious circumstances, just like Jeffrey Epstein's banker from Deutsche Bank. He wound up dead, supposedly hung himself, just like Jeffrey Epstein himself wound up dead, hung himself. But one of the continuing stories that we get little snippets of information trickling out is that there is this ring of Hollywood and global elitists that are engaged in some kind of cult that's like a Satan cult. And supposedly, by many accounts, allegedly, there are a whole bunch of people in Hollywood who engage in, rituals and sacrifices of children and all this other stuff. And I was trying not to look at it too close and put any weight into this stuff, but there's mounting evidence that something's going on there. And this caught my eye. My friend Mikey sent this to me, and I did some reading, I did some homework, and I want you to take a look at this. It's a Facebook post by a guy who's still out there. His name is Ben Runyon, okay? And he goes on, I spoke about this last week, goes on to talk about how Justin Bieber has, basically turned his life over to the Lord, and he came across this, a segment of the Hollywood elite that actually really threw him for a loop. And now, the reason I put this up is because if this is not from Justin Bieber, then Justin Bieber has so much money, he can have any lawyer call this guy and say, this is bull, take it down. I want it down. I didn't say that, none of it's true, or you'd at least put out a statement. That hasn't happened. So I have to believe that somewhere in here it's based on statements that Justin Bieber made, and I don't know why he hasn't gone to the FBI or some other agency, but let's leave that there. He is bringing attention to it, which is important. So he said to a Bible study group that he's in, since finding God last year, Bieber has become a regular at this Bible study class. He told churchgoers he will never go back to the evil music industry until the pedophiles and monsters at the top of the game are run out of town. Everything, it must be disinfected with bleach and sunshine. Okay? He goes on to talk about how he was corrupted. All right? They tried so hard to corrupt me. Tried to destroy me with alcohol. Well, that didn't work. They tried drugs, all different kinds of drugs. If that wasn't it, they tried to destroy me with ambition. And I was interested in first. Then he goes on to talk to about how him and Selena were expecting a baby, and there were powerful people courting him at the time. And he went to a top secret party with top record industry executives. And Bieber said he was shown into a back room where a group of men were wearing masks. They're sitting around the edge of the room drinking from cups. In the center of the room was a dead child sitting cross-legged, propped up against the back of a chair. Now, this gets gross here, folks, but I want you to hear this. This is attributed to Justin Bieber in his Bible study class, okay? They were wearing animal masks. It was obvious this was really important to them that I get involved. I literally gagged at this point. One of them boasted that the baby had been alive for 8 hours after they started cutting it and draining its blood. Okay? The guy seemed pleased with himself. The death, he was told, is called exsanguination, and otherwise known as completely draining a person of their blood. Bieber refused to drink the blood, okay? He said they threatened me. They said they knew Selena was pregnant, asked me if I wanted my baby to end up like the one in the center of the room. He said he was aghast. Years have passed since the episode, but he's vowed to protect Selena, become a family man, acknowledged the rumors that they're back together, even hinted he's set to become a family man when he said, they won't lay a hand on my family, so help me God. Okay? And then goes to talk about Elijah Wood and some other people. All right, take that down. Here's my plea to Justin Bieber, Elijah Wood, anyone's out there. Telling your Bible study's great. That's getting it off your head. Okay? But if you saw it, and these accounts are true, why aren't you stepping forward and telling the authorities who the people were in the room with the masks on if you were sitting there looking at a dead kid? God bless you. God bless your family, but somebody's got to speak up a little more, especially with a platform like that. We're trying to speak up every day. We'll do it again tomorrow right here. Same bad time, same bad channel, more Liquid Lunch. Terrific Tuesday.